First of all, thank you all for being here. I know everybody here knows about experiential learning. We are going to just kind of go through, this will be a slightly different discussion than we've had before. Andrew, well, first of all, I'm Kay Stanton. I am the Senior Program Coordinator for Experiential Learning. I've been with the program now for about 4.5 years, which is kind of insane. Is that right? Or is it 3.5? 3.5. Okay, that makes more sense. And so I sort of dabble in a little bit of everything as far as experiential learning goes. So if you do have a question, I'm a good person to direct it to, because if I don't know the answer, I will probably know who will. Yeah, just real quickly, what we're going to do today is Andrew Potter, our director, is here. He is going to give us a brief overview of EL at UGA. There have been a couple changes since we met last year. One of those is the EL internship program that came on board last year, and he's going to tell you a little bit about that. And then I'm going to jump into just some of the common questions and confusing points that we get from students a lot, and just kind of share those with you and what the solutions are. Again, often that's just contacting me, but there are some other ways of handling some of these. Then we're going to just touch base on the online resources. We do have a new website that we're pretty excited about. And then most importantly, I want to hear your questions at the end of this. So we will try to get through the slideshow part pretty quickly. So let me hand this over to Andrew.
Great, thanks, Kay. And let me just say up front, thanks to each of you for what you do here on campus. And I'm not talking about just how you support experiential learning and talk to the kids about, I call them kids, but talk to the kids about what's available in terms of experiential learning activities. But even more importantly, just the work that you guys do, you probably don't get thanked enough. Some of you know my story. I've been here, I think, 1.5 years now, but was a corporate executive for the last 15 years, leading education companies across the U.S. And we worked with school districts all across the U.S., K-12. We worked with large state universities, small liberal arts colleges. And, one of the lessons that I took away was just how absolutely essential and critical the active advising advisors were to student success from K beyond. So you guys got cool jobs. You're super important to the work, not just that we do here at Georgia, but what this university is trying to achieve. So it really, I'm thrilled to just get a chance to spend a few minutes with you today. There you see our mission statement in EL. We're really, if you really want to boil it down, experiential learning exists to help get our students ready to thrive. It's not necessarily about just making them, ready for grad school or ready for a career or ready for the workforce. It's allowing them to be able to thrive. And I've got 2 daughters myself in college. When I think about what that means, it's really, as our mission statement states, getting them to apply what they're learning in the classroom to a real world setting and helping them to really find their future so that they can thrive in this emerging dynamic global society. If we go to the next slide, Kay. So there are 3 things that we're trying to do in experiential learning. 3 promises, if you will, that Kay and our entire team is focused on is number 1.
You want this show?
So we want every student to be able to access a high impact degree integrated learning experience, right? Regardless of what their household income is, regardless of what their interests are, regardless of what their major is, we want them to have access. 2, we want these experiences to be impactful. We want them to be able to sharpen competencies that will allow them to go outside the walls of Georgia and actually, as we like to say, build their future and change their world. Building their future is all about setting themselves up for success.
It's a new one.
The world is about making that impact. And the last promise we make is making sure that our students are actually empowered. They need to be able to say, hey, I did this experience and here's what I learned from it. And I think there's still a lot of work that we need to do on that specific promise, but we've made a lot of progress as Kay mentioned, in the last 3.5 years.
Sorry to interrupt. Can everybody please just make sure you're muted while we're going through this? Thank you.
Go ahead and go to the next slide, Kay. I think most of you are probably very familiar with the way experiential learning is set up here on campus. Just a real quick refresher. We have 6 categories of activities: internships, service learning, creative, undergraduate research, leadership, and then global. Global includes the study abroad, study away, and the field work. We have just about 2,300 courses and non-credit activities that have now been approved for experiential learning. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I want to talk about our new EL internship program, which we actually soft launched this summer. You know, what this is so most of you, and I know you're all from Franklin, there's likely a internship course that you have on the books that students could do an internship, they get credit for it, et cetera. What this is this is specifically the main difference. It's a non-credit activity. So if students find a internship that potentially aligns with their interests, their major, et cetera, they can actually still get experiential learning credit for the internship, even though they're not enrolled in the course. So in particular, your student that maybe doesn't have that ability to pay for an internship, likely work for free during the summer, this is a great option for them. If they're interning with a for-profit company and they're in this program, they have to be paid. So a lot of our interns that are just starting to go through this program, these are paid positions. They're filling their experiential learning requirement, and they're getting some great experience here as well. We've been building it's small right now, but really accelerating, a list of really interesting companies that students have to choose from. We've got, you know, for the sports enthusiasts, we've got a partnership with Augusta National Golf Club. We just signed an MOU today, in fact, a partnership with Enterprise Car Service. You know, there's the whole gamut of engineering to social sciences to humanities. There's a long list of various companies that students can get involved with through this internship program. So as you're advising those students who are saying, hey, I haven't filled my EL requirement, would love to do a internship this summer, I might find something at home, this is a great option for them to work through this. The last thing I'll mention about the program is it's not simply about the internship. We've actually built some wraparound training that goes along with the program. I believe it's a series of about 5 or 6 modules now, which is everything from facilitating the debriefing and reflecting on their experience to using that experience to populate and really make their LinkedIn profile sing to help them get that next job. And so again, just another great opportunity that you need to be aware of as you think about counseling your students in the next semester or two. I'll pass the mic back to you, Kay.
Thank you, Andrew. And I will go ahead and say that this program has been approved by Franklin College, and we've had a number of Franklin students participate in the last couple of semesters that it's been active. So if you have a student who's doing an internship that hasn't been approved more broadly for EL, or if they're not doing it for course credit, definitely send them to this link or have them contact Karen Saunders in our office. She is our internships program coordinator, although either Andrew or I would also be happy to chat with you about it. All right, now for the fun part. So I know that we still all get a lot of questions about experiential learning and what it means and what the requirement means. And, you know, coming from our office, of course, we see this, you know, again, as a way for our students to thrive and really get out there and put themselves in these real world situations that are going to just make them do better in their lives once they graduate. But as advisors, I understand that, you know, this is a requirement. It needs to be checked off before they graduate. And I will say a lot of students still think that this is something they're going to do in their last semester. I would advise against that. There are a number of majors who do have it built into their program of study as a capstone, thesis, things like that. But we are working really hard to find more opportunities for underclassmen. That's one of my primary goals this year. And I'm going to put this out to you that if you are aware of any courses or activities here on campus that you think might fall into that category, please let me know. Because I'm always looking, but I know there's so many great things happening, and I'm not seeing them all, and you are probably seeing things that I don't. So one of the ones that we get a lot is, so what's going to satisfy my requirement? And we do have a website that students, and I'm going to show this to you next, but we do have a website students can look for courses and non-credit activities that have been approved for their college. I get a lot of questions saying, hey, will you approve my course for experiential learning? No, I can't do that. And actually nobody in our office can do that because any course or non-credit activity has to go through an approval process through a subcommittee of the University Curriculum Committee. So our office, we basically work more as a liaison between faculty and staff and the UCC to get proposals put through and make sure that that administration happens. So unfortunately, we do not have the power to approve a course for a student, and it does take time. If a course is approved in one semester, it won't be active until next semester as far as that student fulfilling their requirement.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So what you just said, you will play a facilitating role between, say, the curriculum committee in a department and the approval committee in, say, for Franklin for the EL committee responsible in the college. Is that right?
Well, partly. So basically, I mean, we're happy to help in whatever we can to get a proposal put through. I know that I work regularly with faculty and staff to help them draft their proposals.
Right. Okay.
And then it goes through, every college has a different curriculum process on their end.
Right.
I am happy to speak with those folks as necessary, but that usually goes through pretty seamlessly with Franklin.
Right.
Yeah, and then we, Andrew, Karen, and I all attend the University Curriculum Committee meetings, and we basically answer whatever questions the committee may have about the course or activity, and try to demonstrate why we think it would be a good fit for experiential learning. But we do not get the vote on that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But that's thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So probably the biggest question. The most questions we get are about internships. And honestly, with internships, what we tell students is if it is on Engage, then it's been approved. And if it's not, it has not been approved. So if a student is taking a course that has been approved for experiential learning for their internship, that's a really good way for them to go. But we also know that that's not how that works often. So this is where the new EL internship program that we have can come into play. And again, there are rules. Students do have to apply. They have to demonstrate that that internship is a good match for either their major or their future goals. And we also get a lot of students saying, hey, I did this internship last summer. Can I have this count for experiential learning? We do not like to approve past internships, and we absolutely cannot approve anything if it didn't happen while they were registered at UGA. So the main thing that I want to get across to our students is that they have to plan ahead of time to make sure they get everything done, all their paperwork taken care of prior to the internship happening, to make sure that it will in fact satisfy that requirement for them. And again, we are happy to work with advisors, students, whatever way we can to guide them through whatever the best process is going to be for them. And I'm actually going to jump over scholarships right now to talk about the exceptions and waivers, because a lot of students do want to get an exception for an internship, which is going to be the best way if a student is doing an internship with a for-profit company and they're not getting paid, for instance. Now, the first thing about exceptions is they are truly exceptions. We are looking at students who they really don't have any other options. They can't take a 1-hour suffix course or do a non-credit activity. They're probably juniors or seniors have to fill up the rest of their schedule with their major courses. So if there's a second year who's requesting an exception, we are probably not going to approve that because they've got plenty of time to find something. Again, we'll work with each case individually and find the best situation for them. And that is, we do primarily get those for internships, but there are others as well. We've had service and research and things, and you know, we'll work with folks to make sure we get them the right exception. Starting this year with the excitement of having a pandemic, we do now have a waiver that is specific to students who have been affected by COVID-19. They've had a program canceled. They were planning on doing a study abroad. We have approved very few of these because, again, ultimately we want students to benefit from having an experiential learning activity. But we also do understand that given the current environment, that's not always going to be possible for everyone. So there is that waiver process. Hopefully everybody here knows about the exceptions and waivers, and if not, when I wrap this up, we can talk about that a little bit more. So scholarships, again, I think there aren't too many questions about scholarships, but it does have to be a currently approved experiential learning activity. Now, if a student gets an exception for something before they do it, then that is also approved for a scholarship. We are going to have scholarships again this year. I think they open in 5 days. I believe it was August 10th, if I'm not forgetting. So always we encourage your students to apply for scholarships. And if they do have questions, Sarah Kirkpatrick is the main point of contact here. Again, they can reach out to Andrew or me as well. And so then just to reiterate that our main job here is, you know, serving as that liaison. So the same thing with exceptions. We don't approve the exceptions. We don't approve the waivers. Those are all approved at the college level. They come to me, I check to make sure that the students are eligible, and then many of you I've probably reached out to say, hey, have you talked to this student? Have you been able to find something for them? And you guys have been great in letting me know, yes, we've talked, or no, I need to reach out to that person. But then after I make that contact with the advisor, we send it over to the dean's office, and they get the final say-so on whether that is approved or not. So just real quickly before we go into questions, I would like to show off some of our website here. So let's see. I'm gonna stop my share here for a second. Oh, we're being slow. And so hopefully, has everybody seen that screen yet? Hopefully you are all very familiar with Engage. I just want to remind you, if you go to the experiential learning section in Engage, this is really the best place for a student to find out what is being offered either this semester or right now we just have fall in there, but there's usually a term or two ahead, so they can search both for you know, our non-course activities and then also for courses. If they're just curious whether something has been approved for experiential learning, they can type the name of it in here, and then they can see whether you can see right here, you know, meets EL requirements for, and so they can know just by glancing at that whether that has been approved to fulfill their requirement. So more exciting to us right now is we do have this new website. When we met last year, it was Franklin Advisors who actually told me some things that they thought would be really helpful. And this may be a more useful way for you to find experiences for your students. I'm going to say that most of the things that you all will probably want to access other than scholarships will be under this Experiences tab. This is where you can find information about the EL internship program that Andrew spoke about. And this Industry Fellows program, which is something that's kind of new and upcoming that hopefully you'll be hearing more about soon. But this Find My Experience, this is where the students can go, or you can go as advisors, and select on the wrong college, but you can select on your college, and it brings up basically this page. The first thing you see here is the approved blanket statement. So I think you guys all know that for Franklin College, all study abroad that's listed on studyaway.uga.edu has been approved, including field studies. All S. Suffolk service learning courses and all R. Suffolk research courses have been approved. So I'm not sure that the internet is going to agree with me here. But please do go to this page, because what you can do is it's going to have a list of all of the non-credit and for-credit EL opportunities. For the courses, there's a direct link to Bulletin, the UGA Bulletin, so you can get information on it. Oh, here we go. You can see which semester or semesters it's offered in, and whether there is a co or prerequisite. And that was something that Franklin Advisors had specifically requested. So hopefully this is something that'll be helpful to you all. And again, this is, you can search. We also have it broken into these, our usual areas of experiential learning. So I think, yeah, other than, so these are the pages that are resources that I definitely recommend for advisors to be aware of. Of course, there's our regular website. You can find all of these, the internship program, Find My Experience, and scholarships are all on our website. And then Engage also shows you which programs have been approved. And as always, if you have any questions, I'm happy to help in whatever way I can. So I'm going to stop my screen share, and then we can take some questions. I see I have some questions probably here in chat. Okay. All right. So at this point, if you have questions, feel free to jump in, but I'll start going through the questions that are here in the chat. Psychology said that they won't accept an internship that's off campus for the EL requirement. I'm not sure if that's still something specific to psychology. That is not an experiential learning requirement. We are completely fine with off-campus internships as long as they are approved either through an exception or a course or our EL internship program. I don't know if anyone from psychology would want to speak on that. I know there are a couple of folks here.
I'm not from psychology. I'm from chemistry, but I do have a question related to that regarding the new experiential learning program that you guys have in your office. So you had the standards, the criteria for what constitutes working for a for-profit company. Who approves it in the new program? Does it go back to the department or the Franklin College level, or is it internal approval with you guys according to your criteria?
Right, yeah, it's internal with us. So the student basically fills out an application, and we have to reach out then to whoever they want to do their internship with. And we do have to get an MOU. So if that company does not want to provide an MOU, we're unable to do that.
Is the MOU student by student, or do you do a blanket MOU? And how extensive is it? Who writes it and negotiates it and all that stuff?
Well, we have an MOU that's specific to our program, and it has the experiential learning outcomes written into it. So basically, if we see one that a lot of students are participating in, we're going to reach out to them to try to get that program itself approved so we don't have to do the one-offs. We kind of see this as more for, here's a student that does this internship, then there's just one UGA student. But if we're seeing 5 or more, then we're going to reach out to that program and get an MOU for that program so each student won't have to deal with that. Otherwise, we will work individually with the student.
And does it have to be a program at the corporation? I have chemistry majors who our internal course for what was the internship course is probably 20 years old in the bulletin, and it just doesn't conform to the way students actually do internships. Mm-hmm. I have students that just have a job at a doing chemistry at a local pharmaceutical company or a paint company or whatever, and it's not even an internship program. They just are working as an intern and getting paid, or just employed there. Is that, I mean, in those circumstances, it would just be their supervisor at the company would just sign off on your boilerplate MOU. Is that sufficient?
Yeah, I mean, we would look into it and make sure that they're reaching, our learning outcomes, which if they're doing chemistry, that basically is the same as what we consider an internship. So we're careful with what goes through, but that is the type of thing that that we would certainly look at and would probably get approved. And I think I saw that Greg were you done with your questions? I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And I saw Greg raised his hand.
Yeah, and I think you have answered my question. I mean, just to clarify, there's no faculty involvement in those situations. Is that right?
That's correct. So basically, Karen Saunders leads up that program, and she works with the activity supervisors at the company. So again, we're being liaisons. In that case, she is working with a non-UGA person who is that student supervisor mentor, and making sure that they're meeting all of the things that they need to meet, as well as the online modules that Andrew mentioned. They do have to pass that as well. Things on professionalism and internship-based, career type things that they'll need to know as well. But yeah, there won't be we won't be reaching out to some faculty member in Franklin and making them panic. Okay, let's see. Oh, now I see that there are more answers to that question. Is there a better way to find out service learning component of, is there a better way to find out the service learning component of service learning classes? I mean, honestly, your best bet there is to reach out to the Office of Service Learning, since we don't know what's going on in each individual class, and I know there's a wide range of what they do. They have some of that information listed on their website, but that's what I would recommend as far as service learning goes. And that's it for the questions in the chat. Does anyone have any other questions? Yes.
Yes, Kay. So I was typing this as you were noting that they had wrapped up in the chat, but I'll just say it now. So I've had a few advisees who've been confused between distinguishing between the Engage Georgia site and then the Find Your Experience portion of the EL site. Mm-hmm. Can you distinguish where these two are separate, where they overlap, how they're connected? Because I've had several students that are just like, I went here, but then I went here, and what I found on the first site isn't on this site. So can you clarify that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. I will say that the Engage site pulls directly from Banner, whereas the one on our page has to be manually updated. So what's on Engage is going to be more up to date. So I would, we try to keep them as close as possible because there are some nice things on the Find Your Experience that are not available on Engage right now. But if it isn't Engage, then it has been approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Greg, I think I saw that you had another question.
Yeah, thanks. And this is really going out to everybody. One of my challenges is, 2,300 activities is overwhelming to me. When I'm actually meeting with a student and talking about experiential learning, I don't know how to gain expertise I would need on all those different opportunities if I were going to speak knowledgeably about it. So what I end up doing is just saying, well, here's a bunch of stuff to look at. And I'm curious about how other people handle that. And, is there a better way for an advisor to sort of make a really quality recommendation to a student beyond, here's a list of all the service learning opportunities? How about something like, hey, you're interested in working with this type of population. Here's 6 things that would really be awesome for you. I'm just curious if that's something if anyone else has ever asked that question, and how other people handle that.
Yeah, so I know that in family and consumer sciences, for instance, and I mean, of course, they have far fewer majors than Franklin. They are creating a curriculum map to find what the types of things are that certain majors like to do as far as experiential learning goes. And that is something that I would be very interested in developing further for Franklin students. Ideally, someday we would love to have, I know that there is AI out there that exists to help help students find these kinds of things based on their competencies and the things that they're interested in. But, we're not there yet. That is something that exists and is on our radar that we are looking into. A slightly clunkier way of doing it is I have advisors reach out and say, hey, what are math students doing for EL? I can pull a list and send you a list of courses and non-credit activities, and there will be a bunch of marching band on there, and, it's a wide range of stuff, but you can sort of, it narrows that 2,300 down to a slightly more manageable chunk. And that's something, I can't do it immediately, but I am happy to pull those reports for folks who need them.
Hey, Kay, I was just writing that down. Be like, can we get a list of
Sure.
things that our majors have done previously that would count? Because I just feel like there'd be so much overlap. And I could say, this is what people have been doing. Take a look at these options.
Yeah. And that's what I do, because I get students that ask me, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know what, you do in your major, but I can look it up and here's what others are doing. So, yeah, please just, if that's something you're interested in, shoot me an email and I can pull that for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions? One other thing that I meant to mention on exceptions, and the fact that each college manages their own exceptions, is that Franklin College has a webpage with their the proposal form on it. So you can, if you Google UGA Franklin College Experiential Learning, it will pull that page up, and it has instructions on what the student needs to do. So, I mean, if you send them to me, I'm happy to send them to that page, but you could also just send them directly to that page, and then they can manage it on their own. It goes to Dean Coggle's office for approval, and then once it's been approved, they let me know, and I work with the registrar to get that exception put into place. So that is just another kind of cuts out one item on the list for students to do. So.
Hey, I have another question.
Okay.
I work with Romance languages, and so a lot of my students are double majors or even triple majors sometimes. And I know you said for the EL internship that they needed to prove it was working towards their major. Does it matter if it works towards their Spanish major or if it works towards one of their other majors? Or what's would that be an issue?
No. I mean, I think it would be fine, if they can work it, and and we've certainly had students who were, some of the majors like psychology. That's a really broad spectrum of folks that we're looking at. So I'm pretty sure, and Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure we had someone work in an HR department that was a psychology student, you know, which in a way that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, is that right? Am I
Yeah,
remembering that correctly?
what the university curriculum committee likes to see, and the phrase they use is degree integrated. Well, that's really pretty broad, you know, so if you're getting, you know, a Bachelor of Arts in X, you know, there's lots of different ways you can use that. I think what the university curriculum committee is trying to prevent is the, you know, I'm trying to come up with a good example, but the engineer who's interning at a, you know, summer daycare, right? You know, I think that's probably, and that's maybe not a good example, but I think for the most part, you know, we can probably make a pretty good case for just about any, you know, internship, especially in the humanities. I mean, you know, humanities is applicable. I mean, what Franklin does is applicable in nearly every single job. So.
All right,
That's
cool.
the
Thank you.
Beauty of humanities. Yeah, Greg.
So just to kind of go with this a little bit. So first of all, just to clarify, this is sort of a new thing y'all are doing, but this can't be backdated. If a student did something last summer, this cannot be used to satisfy the EL.
No.
Okay.
No, 'cause it has to be approved before it starts, and getting the MOU in place and things like that.
And so just to clarify, you know, in an environment where there's no faculty, you know, is there really a difference between an internship and a summer job? I mean, is it the same as far as y'all are concerned?
Yeah, it can
So
be.
there is an addendum to the agreement, Greg, that the company has to support, which is basically aligning with the academic outcomes. You know, in some sense, they become part of the, you know, faculty in some sense. So they actually have to sign off on all the academic outcomes tied into the internship. So we have some employers who just aren't willing to do that, and that's fine. But you know, that internship can't count then.
Okay. Yeah, this is interesting. I think this will be something that'll be good for my student population. They do a lot of off the grid kind of stuff. I work with religion majors, and they're doing all kinds of stuff in the summer. So this is intriguing. This is good information. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I guess, you know, we're wrapping up a little bit early, but, you know, we are always here. If you think of anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. You know, we do have some resources. We are constantly trying to build our resources. So we want to work with you to make things easier and not more difficult. Andrew, do you have anything else that you wanted to say before we close up?
Yeah. Thanks for the time, all.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for everything you do. And again, we're here if you need us.
Okay. Thanks, y'all. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care. Stay safe, everyone.